Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today's virtual event. Before we get started, please make sure your video camera or web camera is set to off and your microphones are muted. Presenting on today's call is Washington, D.C. Area Regional Director Sandeep Patel, Alan, Group Publisher of Hotel Business, Mike, President of Super 8 by Wyndham and Brand Operations, Scott, President of the Americas, Lisa, CMO, Krishna, President of La Quinta by Wyndham, Shilpan, SVP of Franchise Services, Tracy, SVP of North America Operations, Wyndham owners Kitty and Jay, and Lena Patel, AHOA Female Director, Eastern Division. Munira from Chase is with us today. We thank Chase for their decade-long commitment to AHOA and America's hotel owners. We thank Chase. It is because of your partnership like this that we are able to put on virtual events like this one today. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Munira.
Thank you so very much, Brittany, and thank you so very much to the AHOA leadership for this wonderful virtual opportunity. My name is Munira Sadruddin, and I'm with Chase Merchant Services. I have the great pleasure with working with and serving many of our AHOA members and Wyndham franchisees for both your franchise and independent hotel locations. A lot of wonderful familiar faces on this call today. We serve each and every size business with the utmost pride and respect. We are always looking for an opportunity to provide you with the support you deserve in terms of processing. When I converse with my AHOA and Wyndham clients, I hear and see them working day in and day out on strategies to rebuild their businesses and portfolios. Hard work, commitment, and integrity are the main focal points which make us all the same. You should be working with vendors who encompass these same values on an ongoing basis. At Chase, we are committed to the well-being and safety of our customers, our employees, and our community. We're here for you when you need us, whether it's providing best practices, professional consultation, or business tools and resources. I would love to earn your business and strengthen our relationship further with you all, just as we've been doing business with AHOA and Wyndham franchisees for the past 20 plus years. Please feel free to reach out to me directly or approach your AHOA directors and AHOA leadership for our contact on how we can better service you and your processing needs. Again, my name is Munira with Chase. My direct number is 972-646-1012. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you so much, Munira.
Thank you.
Now please welcome Washington, D.C. Area Regional Director Sandeep Patel.
Thank you, Munira, for hosting us and sponsoring our AHOA event. You know, AHOA has a great gratitude for doing all this sponsorship. Thank you. Hello, well, again, AHOA is it again. We had a great convention last week. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, but AHOA doesn't stop. We still here hosting conversation that matters, connecting America's hotel owners with the information they need to make this discussion that are right for their businesses. AHOA has partnered with Procter & Gamble Professional to offer training in hotel sanitation and cleanliness. This program is completely free and available not only for AHOA members, but to the entire hospitality industry. Visit ahoa.com/cleaning search to register. Today, we've got a great panel lined up for you. Let's give them a warm welcome to our moderator, Alan Rorari, for Hotel Business. To get things started, welcome Alan, welcome Wyndham panel. Thank you all for giving your time this afternoon to our members to have a healthy conversation in recovery for COVID-19. Thank you.
Well, Sandeep, thank you so much. And thank you to AHOA for asking me to host this amazing panel today. I'm very excited to be here. The name of our panel is Navigating the Road to Recovery in a Post-COVID-19 World, a conversation with Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. And I want to welcome all the panelists and thank you for your time. We're going to have an amazing conversation. I have to tell you, we've gotten so many questions in from AHOA members and ownership. And I know there are a lot of folks tuning in that have a lot of really good, boots on the ground, nuts and bolts questions that they want to ask. So this is going to be a very informative discussion. And without further ado, we're going to just jump right into it, okay? So first off, I have to say, I'm gonna address Mike for a second. Everybody knows that I'm in the hospitality industry, and one of the biggest questions I'm getting from friends and family that travel, and we're gonna get to a lot of different topics. So I'm randomly starting with this one just because I'm getting asked so much. What's gonna go on with F&B, with food and beverage at hotels, and the breakfast and all of that? So Mike, if you want to kick us off, and then we'll get into some more deeper questions as we move forward.
Sure. Thanks, Alan. So first, let me start by saying welcome, everyone. It is our pleasure to speak with all of you today. As many of you know, Wyndham has a long and proud history of working and partnering with AHOA. In fact, our Days In by Wyndham brand, one of the brands that helped us grow into the company that we are today, also helped in starting your great organization. So we know that we are in one of the most challenging times in our history in this industry, and it's impacting all of us in ways that we could never have imagined. From day one of this pandemic, our focus, our priority has been on our franchisees and doing everything we can to help them weather this storm. So many of you in the audience today, we just want to say directly to you, we are intensely committed to your survival and your success. So today we'd like to share with you what we've done so far. So from fee relief and advocacy to finding new and innovative ways of driving business to your hotels, but also what we intend to continue to do in the weeks and the months to come. We'll also share why we think Wyndham and its brands are so uniquely positioned to recover from this pandemic. So a lot of you have sent in questions, and we will get to as many as we can. If we cannot get to a specific question about your hotel, about your situation, you know how to reach out to us. Please reach out to ourselves, anybody on this panel, your franchise operations representative, and we'll be happy to guide you through. So let's get to the question. So regarding F&B, we know it's a question on everybody's mind. How is it going to change, especially breakfast? How are we going to evolve the F&B requirements coming out of this pandemic? So let's start with what Wyndham has already done. Very early on, we waived our standard breakfast requirements across all brands to accommodate for reduced occupancy, supplier challenges, and fast-changing local requirements. We asked our owners to provide a grab-and-go solution so that paying guests who expected a breakfast offering had something to sustain them. Wyndham was incredibly flexible in allowing variations on breakfast based on market needs. And we stopped QA inspections for breakfast compliance to make it easier for our owners. I really want to applaud our franchise owners for stepping up and doing the best you could in the early days of this crisis. Now, we've extended these breakfast modifications through the end of this year to give us time to assess the state of the business before making any long-term decisions. Most guests over the past few months have been very understanding of reduced breakfast offerings. But as business started to pick up recently with summer travel, we're getting a lot of questions about when do we get back to normal, the normal that guests have come to expect. It is critical that we don't make any emotional decisions that negatively impact your business. I know there's a lot of people who say it's time to abandon breakfast as an amenity, especially in the economy segment. Some view it as only a cost. And it's true that it is a hard amenity to please guests with at any segment level. But it is one of the amenities that distinguishes many of our brands from the competition. And it's critical not to give away a unique selling proposition that we have all spent years building. Now, for example, when we look at our economy and our mid-scale star comp sets and how most of our brands over-index RevPAR and are gaining share, we believe it's because of the quality of the product, the outstanding service that you, the franchise owners, provide, and the perception of value for the price paid. And part of that value proposition is the fact that we offer a continental or better breakfast. Now, we do believe that there is an opportunity to distinguish an economy level breakfast from a mid-scale offering or an upscale or above program. The lines have been blurred over the last few years to the point where guests don't really know what to expect. I think we can all agree as an industry, we have all let amenity creep drive up expenses. So the question going forward is going to be whether guests have been conditioned over the last few months to reset their expectations for breakfast at hotels. And a follow-on question to that is whether they will continue to pay a premium ADR if the amenity set at their favorite brands has been reduced. So these are not questions we want to gamble with. Yeah. Our franchise owners have invested way too much in their brands to guess how the traveling public will react to any changes. It will take thoughtful, well-tested concepts before we make any permanent changes. But rest assured, any recommendations will take into consideration the voice of our franchise community. We just ask that you be patient. We have to get this right. So at this point, let me ask my friend, Jay Patel from the Super 8 in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, if he would like to join into this conversation and offer some of his thoughts on breakfast at hotels. Jay?
Yeah, so I'm with Mike. We're going to need some time to figure this out because it's really dynamic right now. It's changing. Consumer behaviors are changing. But the customer don't want to come inside the breakfast room, but eventually, I think they will, but we just don't know what is the cutoff point right now. What we're doing at my place is we are giving out prepackaged food, which is required by law in the state of Massachusetts. Pretty much, I think it's going to follow local guidelines versus franchisors' guidelines. But there's no need to jump into a final conclusion. That's what I believe.
Great. Well, thanks, Jay. And thank you, Mike. So basically to be continued, there's a lot to figure out here in the world of F&B, and it's not just a simple question of whether we just eliminate it as an amenity. There's a lot more involved there. So we'll certainly be tuning in to see what steps Wyndham takes in the days to come. You know, owners are facing unprecedented challenges right now. You know, over at Hotel Business, you know, we're talking to ownership every day, all day. And two things right now that we're hearing a lot about, okay? Interpretation of business interruption wording on insurance policies, right? And potential lawsuits from guests who could potentially claim they contract COVID-19 at your hotel. So how is Wyndham helping ownership navigate these very complex and difficult situations right now?
All right, Alan, thanks for that. And I think we're going to go over to Scott LePage to get us started with this, and then we'll invite Lena Patel to join us.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Mike. And Alan, I'm going to start at really the beginning of what we saw our owners' needs are as COVID-19 hit North America in the March-April timeframe. And the initial needs were really around getting through the crisis, managing cash flow. You know, as occupancies dropped, managing profitability was critical. And for Wyndham, our role is to not only help those franchisees manage their business, but also to represent them at the federal, state, and local levels. And so we spent the initial steps in the crisis working at each of those levels to ensure that the solutions provided were the right solutions for our industry, for our owners, and for our guests. As we know, a lot of those rolled out pretty quickly. Very good initial steps were taken, but some of those programs, PPP, EIDL, and the other ones that were out there need a little bit of tweaking because what happened in actuality may not have been what was initially intended. And so we continue to work at all of those levels, not only to get those right types of relief measures implemented, but to get them adjusted to meet the needs of the industry. On the flip side, it's not always easy for an owner to know exactly what's going on within all of those areas that we're weighing in and providing either assistance, information, or regulations. So we spent a lot of time summarizing, consolidating, and distributing that information so our owners were aware of what was going on, whether it was restrictions put in for their state for new federal programs or adjustments to the federal programs that were out there. It was about representing our industry and informing our owners as to what was going on. And then to specifically address those areas that you've talked about, we're almost in the second wave of federal involvement in what we're seeing and representing, again, our owners at those three levels to ensure that, and working alongside industry groups like AHOA to ensure that the protections are put in place, that our owners who have operated their businesses effectively and followed the right procedures are not at additional risk. At the federal level, we've urged Congress to pass liability protection for small business. And then at the state level, we've seen 30 states already introducing legislation. 14 have passed and signed into law that provide some level of protection for businesses that operated through COVID-19. So we'll continue to work alongside all of those organizations to ensure that there's representation for our owners and for the industry to address the concerns that are out there. And I think before we go to Lena, one of the other things that we want to talk about was how we've implemented procedures to help hotels follow the steps needed to ensure safe stays for our team members and for our guests. So Tracy, do you want to talk a little bit about Count on Us, and then we'll hand it over to Lena?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Scott. So we launched Count on Us early on in May. It was a new initiative to help build confidence amongst our guests. It started with protocols such as disinfectant cleaning, aligning with the EPA and the CDC, and making sure that the right products were in the hotels and the guests understood that we had their safety at best. And then also the staff, right, that allowed the staff to know that it was okay to come back to work. It was okay to kind of engage again in the hotel and do their jobs in a safe way where they engaged with the PPE and they knew that we had the right things in place. So a lot of it was, you saw us a couple weeks ago, we announced that we were mandating face coverings, right? That's one of the things we could do as hotel operators is to mandate face coverings in all of our hotels in US and Canada. That allowed us to that plays a role, we all play a role in the safety of everybody and to slow down the spread of COVID-19. So I think some of these things that we embodied in the Count on Us initiative was about how we were telling the guests what we were doing, getting guests to come back to travel again. And again, it's the wearing of the masks, it's the EPA cleaning products. It was the masks and the hand sanitizer in the hotels. Those are the things that kind of scream to the guests that we were safe, you can stay with Wyndham, and we welcome you back to our hotels. So I believe that Count on Us was the start of communicating to our guests and our employees that it was okay to come back to work and come and stay with us again.
So Lena, did you want to talk about some of the efforts that AHOA has been involved in where we're working together as an industry to address these types of concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the advocacy efforts that AHOA is making in working and trying to change the insurance policies to ensure that we are covered. I mean, everybody's seen the frivolous lawsuits that we've had over the past year, and we'll continue to see it with the ADA lawsuits, and AHOA took a big effort on that, and now they're continuing to take this effort with the COVID-19 that's going on. I mean, hotels are vulnerable to lawsuits. It's very easy for guests to just come and slap a lawsuit on us or file complaint or claim. So it's, again, to echo off what Tracy said, the Count on Us, the training that Wyndham is providing to ensure that we are ready and we don't step into a pothole where we're going to be vulnerable to some of these lawsuits or having any type of coverage that will not be covered by the insurance companies.
Great. Lena, thank you. Tracy, you brought up the Count on Us program, and a lot of the questions that were submitted from ownership, not surprisingly, they're struggling to keep their doors open right now. And, you know, with every program that's added, there's added costs for the owner, right? So, you know, owners are trying to sort of balance this whole need for safety, you know, getting guests back to their properties, and now, you know, added costs. So, you know, one of the submitted questions was, you know, are guests ready to pay more, and what costs has Wyndham incurred to increase consumer confidence? So, how are you working with ownership, sort of with these new added costs in a very difficult time?
Yeah, thanks so much, Alan, for the question. You know, early in the pandemic, Wyndham took and made a decision to launch this Count on Us initiative. And the goal was, as I mentioned before, was building back that guest confidence. And, you know, no one could predict where we would be today. So we definitely were reaching out. The supply chain wasn't as healthy as it is today. And Wyndham stepped up in the beginning of this pandemic and fronted over $3 million to drop ship the needed supplies to our hotels. That was something that, you know, franchisees at that point couldn't afford to pay for, so we deferred those payments. Wyndham also recognized that, you know, standards, and I think Mike alluded to this earlier on with breakfast, that, you know, some standards needed to be relaxed a little bit, and we needed to be a little flexible because, you know, we needed to take a step back. And as he mentioned about the amenity creep, right? We were in a state prior to COVID where amenities upon amenities were being added, you know, in the industry. And I think that COVID allowed us to take that pause and step back and say, you know, what amenities are absolutely needed in the guest room and what are nice to haves. And so we saw that with the help of our franchise advisory boards, interacting and collaborating with our franchisees, we started to kind of go through those amenities and say things that maybe we could remove from the room to reduce costs, allowing for the things that needed to be added, such as an amenity of hand sanitizer, right? Making the guests feel like they had control over their safety, their own safety. So I think reducing some of those amenities and some of those high touch points in the guest room was one way. Another way was simply is, you know, the lack of stay over cleans, right? So the fact that, you know, from a standard perspective, kind of relaxing that every day you had to go in and clean those rooms, and obviously following the mandates of the states, where we didn't have to go in every single day and clean those guest rooms, reduce the cost for our franchisees. So again, just the relaxing of those standards kind of helped to offset some of those costs.
Great. And
Mike, if I may, Alan,
yes,
say something about this amenities creep, if you don't mind, please. You know, I look at it, I've been doing this business now over 27 years, and, you know, amenities and brand standards has been increasing a lot quicker than the amount of revenue that our owners and our members are gaining at the hotel level. So I wanted Wyndham to take a look at this option. It may sound a little political, but what I would like to say is every time you look at to install a new brand standards or new amenity, let's go back and remove the two unnecessary, that is unimpactful to our guest, amenities or standards. So every time you want to put a new standards and amenity, let's remove the two old ones that may be from 1980s or 2000s, or that is not going to impact our guest. And that will help our owners bring more current and more, you know, up to date. So as COVID has taken place for hotels, you know, we need to look at our industry, look at our hotels a different way, like what 9/11 had done for the airlines. From everything, I think every brand standards, every amenity needs to be re-looked at, you know. And as far as the COVID training and the insurance, I think, you know, the Procter and Gamble program that now AHOA is rolled out as a certification, that's another way we can train our members, our guests, hotel owners, because that will be, you know, educational point of view, so we can take care of our employees as well as every guest that's coming in. Because if our people are educated and trained correctly, we won't have to deal with the lawsuits or this, you know, unnecessary lawsuits. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Sandeep. And Mike, does your team take a look at those standards? I would imagine there's a review process that, maybe some of the older outdated standards maybe get moved aside for some new ones. Is that something that's currently going on?
Sure, Alan, absolutely, and it's always going on. And Sandeep, I appreciate the opportunity to address that because it is something that we've taken very seriously over the last few years in particular. I myself come from a marketing background, so what I'm most interested in leading the Super 8 brand is what are guests willing to pay more for? What do they care about? And we use tools like Medallia to give us really rich, deep feedback and really great insights into what do guests really care about. And we've started to peel back standards that don't make sense anymore. I remember looking at the Super 8 Standards Manual when I first started at the brand about 5 years ago and saying, we require 14 linear feet of furniture in our rooms. Many of our rooms are 12 feet deep. How does that make sense? Let's start to pull back some of those things that were designed maybe when there was a prototype for this brand in the 80s, but aren't appropriate for today's hotel. That's exactly what we're doing across all of our brands, making sure that any new standard that we introduce is something that guests care about. They're telling us through the voice of the customer, through tools like Medallia, that they expect it and will pay more for it. And where we can reduce standards and stop nitpicking on things that maybe a guest wouldn't notice, but we notice because our QA evaluation form says we look for these things. That's the kind of thing we're trying to do to make much more sense out of the way that we partner with our franchise community.
Great. So I have one just quick follow-up question, and this was another submitted one, pretty direct. I know we were talking earlier, I think Tracy mentioned the drop shipping of some of the protection equipment and things like that. A few owners had remarked that they still have not gotten some of that equipment, sanitizer and things like that. And they're concerned for the September 1 mandate. And so they're asking, how should they handle this if they ordered stuff, they paid for it, they still haven't gotten it, and obviously we're getting close to that September 1 date. They're a little nervous about, not having that protective equipment. What should they do?
Yeah, I mean, what the thing is as I mentioned before, this is untreaded waters and times where we don't expect challenges, the challenges that we've had to come up. We did have the hand sanitizer, the amenity bottles, right? Most of the other products have been drop shipped and received by everybody. The hand sanitizer amenity bottles were delayed due to being stuck at the border, the alcohol content, unfortunately, through customs and stuff like that. So though that was a challenging hiccup in getting the amenity bottles out, they were released yesterday, so they should start to receive them in the next couple of days. So I would think that everybody will have them in their hands within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and that will allow them to offer them to our guests. I think that worrying about the September 1 deadline, we will do everything we need to do on our channels, on our websites and things like that to communicate where available. But they will have them in the coming weeks, so it should be addressed.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And also, Mike, you mentioned the Medallia reviews. I know that there was some folks in ownership. Apparently, the reviews were downsized to 3 questions. Is that accurate? And the feeling is that this has decreased the score in other areas significantly. Is there a plan for Wyndham to remove the scoring system this year? For some reason, ownership feels that the change in the questions is going to affect the reviews in a negative way.
Yeah, so I'll start with that one. Yeah, we definitely skinny down the Medallia surveys that went out to our guests, specifically because a lot of the questions related to amenities that we couldn't offer anymore. If you were not allowed to offer F&B as a result of some state regulation, then it wasn't a fair question to ask somebody, because they would typically score you quite low if they didn't receive an amenity that they expected. And so that's why we did that, not so that we could focus on of areas to be punitive, we wanted to focus on the areas that you still had control over in your hotels and make sure that we're giving the guests the best possible experience within the confines of regulations that were fast changing. So fast forward, the Medallia survey is being expanded again, and that will go out there. So none of the scores out there from the past few months are intended to punish a franchisee. It's only there for us to gather information about the things we could control. We have moved back to the full survey, I believe this month, and that will start to level out what benefits and what amenities are available for our franchisees to offer their guests. And again, as things change, we're going to have to pivot. We know we want to make sure that we're asking guests for feedback on things that are within our control. If they're out of our control, then they're not intended to be used against the franchise community.
Got it. Well, pivoting is the name of the game these days, right? We're all doing it on a daily, sometimes hourly basis. So we're gonna shift gears here a little bit. And you know, it's funny. I read something recently. The relationship between the travel industry suppliers and OTAs was referred to as frenemies. So I thought that was kind of funny. What is the state? And this is to the panel, Mike, if you want to direct this to the appropriate person on your team. You know, what is the state of the direct booking wars right now, and how can Wyndham help its ownership get a bigger piece of the pie?
All right, so why don't we start with Lisa? I think it would be best to kick us off with this discussion about the OTA relationships.
And I think we're going to need to unmute Lisa if we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here with all of you today. You know, I think that what we have found as we have gone through our recovery phase of COVID, and as we've moved through our early stages in March and April, where we were really focused on, you know, asking everyone to stay home and to stay safe, and we were focusing on our Everyday Heroes initiatives. You know, and as we pivoted into the May-June timeframe and we started really focusing on that building back of confidence, not only for our leisure guests, but our business guests as well, as we rolled out Count on Us, and we talked about all of the new processes and procedures that we were putting into our hotels to keep our guests safe, and really building up that idea of you know, there was still that pent-up demand of travel, but as people started to come back out of their quarantines, really wanting to have control over when they were booking, how they were booking, and where they were going. And what we really found was they were coming to us. They wanted a trusted source of truth, of is it safe? What are my expectations? What are the changes in amenities that I should expect once I start traveling again? As a guest, is there anything that I need to be doing differently, be it masks, being you know, different policies, flexible policies, changes to the Wyndham Rewards program. And we really started to see those members and guests come directly to Wyndham. And they started calling our call centers and calling the hotels and visiting our brand.com sites in record numbers as the recovery began. And we really are using that as an opportunity to be direct with our guests and to speak to them directly. We've seen our property direct as a channel increase significantly throughout the pandemic, and that's really our GSO in action, attracting our type of corporate customer, which are the type of corporate customers that need the road to do their business. This is infrastructure and oil and gas and steel. And those types of companies are coming directly to us through our managed accounts, through our small and medium-sized business initiatives that we put into market, through the prospecting work that our GSO is doing, and you know, and the introduction of new tools for those small businesses to use, such as Wyndham Direct. And Kitty, maybe I'll ask you in a moment to talk about some of those key investments that we've made to make it easier for those types of businesses to book directly through our channels. And I think the relationship that we've built with our loyalty members, 80 million strong throughout this pandemic, in order to keep the conversation going, keep them engaged, even when they weren't necessarily able to travel, pivoting the value of the program to be focused on, you know, partnerships such as our our delivery service, our food service partnership as a way for home delivery, even if you couldn't be in the hotels, as a way to, again, drive value. And so, and even the marketing that we have in market right now in terms of our promotions, there have been value-added promotions all throughout the summer as we've started to see leisure demand come back. First with a earn up to 10,000 bonus points on up to 5 stays. And now in market, we have a stay 2 nights and then a free night. And so by putting value added promotions into the marketplace that can only be booked through our direct channels, we're starting to see that real uptick through all of our direct channels, either brand.com, prop direct, all the call center. And to answer your question, I think there's always this concept of balanced distribution, and that there is a time and a place for some of those bookings, but the efforts that we have in place right now is to really have that direct connection with our guests and our 80 million Wyndham Rewards members, because in a time where brands have never mattered more, people are searching for brands that they know and trust, and our household names, your hotel brands, are the ones they're looking for. The Days Inn by Wyndham, Super 8s, La Quintas. These are the brands that our guests are seeking out because they know and trust them. They've stayed with them before. They know they're backed by Wyndham. And they, with some of these programs like Count on Us and otherwise, we're giving that sense of confidence that when they come and stay with us, they'll be safe. But I do want to just for a moment, Kitty, if you don't mind, just because I know you've been seeing the benefit of this firsthand. We've introduced a direct booking tool for some of these small and medium-sized businesses to use as a way to really simply drive direct bookings into the hotel. So Kitty, if you wouldn't mind, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so thank you for having me on this panel today. I've been on the La Quinta Brand Council for the last 3 years, and part of the integration of La Quinta into Wyndham. And Wyndham Direct was probably on our top 5 requests when we came on board. It was a legacy La Quinta item that we had, and we needed it back. And Wyndham put funding efforts to do that and launched it, I guess, right when COVID started. So we honestly, my opinion is we haven't seen the impact of what this tool is going to bring us. It's getting stronger day by day. Our GSO team is very incentivized to sell it. Clients are coming on board and the bookings are creeping up. I do think that once we're through this COVID pandemic and corporate travel resumes to any degree, that this program will take off. I will say that being on Brand Council, one of the statements I made early on with this OTA subject is we're La Quinta by Wyndham, not La Quinta by OTA. And we've got to keep that focus. And our ownership base has vocalized and really advocated to Wyndham to keep that pressure on, to keep our property direct bookings coming in. And Wyndham Direct is the latest, but there has been progress with member rates. We're making strides to mobile check-in, advanced booking is going on. GSO has launched a small business initiative to go after smaller fish in markets that don't have maybe these larger corporate segments. So there has been some progress. There needs to be more. But our highest channel, as we all know, is OTA. And we've got to do a lot more to redirect this business.
If I may, Lisa, before, direct business from Wyndham channels are the best business because it costs our owners the least amount per dollar cost for the booking cost. And I want to ask Lisa a question. Is Wyndham planning to use their power of Wyndham to renegotiate the percentage of the fees that our owners are paying? For example, my La Quintas, it's, booking.com and Expedia produces great amount of business, maybe 20-30% of it on a daily basis. And when I have to pay 15% or 18%, I know some of the other brands have negotiated down to 10% with some of these OTAs. I would like to see Wyndham, go after that and save our owners, because that the 10% or 5% we save will flow straight to our bottom line, because it doesn't cost us any more money to bring that dollar. It's just that we like to use Wyndham, their big power, to push down the percentage that we are being charged from OTAs. So, I mean, we're the one who's paying for the mortgage. We're the one paying for the housekeeping. We're the one who's paying for the property tax. So these 4 or 5%, if there's a way we can get it down to 10% or 8% from some of these OTA fees, that will be the power, Wyndham, and that's saving to our ownership. And I think that's what we're looking from Wyndham to do a big negotiation. I'm not saying to cut them off, but we got to do this. That's what I think, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, and we agree with you. We're constantly in negotiations and conversations with our OTA partners to do just that, and we are advocating on your behalf, on behalf of them and our size. So I appreciate the comment. And in concert with that, I think it is important, Kitty, thank you for the point as well. We do have work to do, and we are constantly at work. We are introducing right now a new customer data platform, which allows us to use our data and our customer data like never before when we think about not only our membership base, but those guests that are checking into your hotels that may or may not be members, or those guests that are checking into your hotels that may have booked through an OTA, as a way to market directly to them, to say, if you had booked direct, you could have earned points tonight, or if you had booked direct, or if you joined the program, these benefits would have been available to you, including member perks that would happen at the hotel and beyond. And so we are constantly targeting, not only using our marketing campaigns and our media campaigns that you may be more familiar with, but behind the scenes, we are using our customer data in ways that we've never been able to use it before, as a way to, again, we know the guests are coming in from other booking sources. How do we then, once they come into our environments, our hotels, our booking engines, then convert them into members, which is absolutely the lowest form of payment when we think about our members coming directly into our brand.com sites, or using our apps, or coming directly into your hotels on a day in and day out basis. That's where their lifetime value comes in. That's where the value of the program comes in. That's where the value of our scale and our system comes in. And that's something that we have started already throughout our recovery, at first with COVID, and you'll see that continue as we come into the fall and winter, and then into next year. So I appreciate the point, and I can assure you that we're working on it.
Lisa, this is Lena. If I can also add to this particular topic.
Hi, Lena.
Hi. Okay, so right now hotels are really struggling with disgruntled employees. I know there are videos flying around everywhere on social media of disgruntled employees. They're upset, they're angry, and it's a very stressful environment for us hoteliers at the upfront. So, and I'm sure many of the people on this call can agree that everybody has a do not rent list, and that seems to be increasing by the day. OTAs have a feature to ban those type of customers from making reservations with them. However, what we see is those same customers then
I think we
Lena,
lost the audio.
Lena, you've lost your sound.
Yeah, your sound cut out.
Well, I think we got the point of the question, though, and maybe I'll start, Lisa, and then
Sure.
Fill in. So the question is about if the OTAs have some feature that we can enact that allows you to put somebody on a do not rent list and prevent them from making a booking.
I apologize. That was my audio that went out on. But
yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So so that's is there plans for Wyndham to have such a feature to ban these type of customers from coming in, because there's so much damage happening to all of our hotel rooms, more so than ever before.
Okay, so let me start. I think the short answer is no, we don't have any plan right now to create some national do not rent list Unfortunately, that's just not something that's manageable for us. But I would say the hotel owners that I've spoken to about this, they know those customers who have come in and created new expense for them through damage, wear and tear, and so forth. And I really feel like that largely has to be managed at the local level. And so again, at the central level, I don't think there's any way to manage that. And largely because not all reservations come through us. We wouldn't know if somebody was making a reservation at your hotel. When I look at my brand Super 8, we still get, as we've always done for 40 years, a high percentage of walk-up business or same-day property direct reservations. So again, we wouldn't know that somebody, some local person, cash-paying customer is going to make that reservation there. So I just don't, at this point, I don't think that's an investment for us to manage centrally.
Great, thanks. Well, Lena and Sandeep took my two questions that were up next, so this is great. Well, thank you. We had another submitted question, and not surprisingly, a lot of these are in regard to costs, and there are quite a number of mandated products. However, it seems ownership feels, or at least the folks that have reached out today for questions, they feel that the prices are higher than they should, and feel that Wyndham's size should lead to some economy of scale, further discounts than they're currently receiving. So maybe someone from the Wyndham team could talk a little bit about that and how that all kind of comes into play.
And Alan, do you mind if I jump in on that one, Mike?
Please, Scott. Absolutely.
I want to back up for a step, because a lot of these questions about how to handle tough guests and what the channel distribution looks like for each hotel, that's where, from Wyndham's point of view, our approach and what we really like to do is work directly with our hotels. If they've got a question about a product, if they've got a question about a reservation or a guest, we've got a field team that's out there to work with them. And so all of these things are the types of support and service we want to provide to our hotels, our franchise hotels directly. Just to show where we fit in, we actually manage nearly 300 hotels, 230 of them are La Quintas. So we face the exact same opportunities and challenges that all of our owners do in that portfolio. We manage our channel distribution. We celebrate our direct bookings. We've actually been able to reduce our cost per occupied room throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And so doing that within and using the various tools and resources that Wyndham has provided. On the note on pricing for our products, we've got a great sourcing department, and we certainly understand that it's critical to get the right prices for these products with what's going on right now and the compressed margins for every hotel, the challenging revenue scenarios that are out there. We know that every dollar counts. And so what we've done is work to negotiate the very best agreements that are available out there, but also to layer in some flexibility for our franchisees. And so one of the things that a lot of folks don't realize is if they go to one of our vendors, the more products they buy from that vendor, the lower the pricing is going to be. And so what often happens is somebody will see pricing as part of a package and not realize that if they get the independent product pricing, it's going to be a little bit different. But instead of trying to make all of our franchisees experts on what happens with sourcing, that's where they can come to us. If somebody's got a question about a product, if somebody's got a question about a certain situation, somebody's got a question about a regulation in their territory, we've got a field team. Every one of our hotels has that person's phone number, their name. They can give them a call, and we've supported our team, all of that information. They can help with the myriad of questions that come out from the types of things we're talking about here today. I also want to point out that just going back for a second to the channel distribution, one of the things that we celebrate is that many of our brands, including La Quinta, have outperformed their segments in the recovery timeframe. So having the ability to use our channels effectively has been one of the things that's allowed that brand and our hotels to outperform. We've seen it in our managed hotels, and we've seen it in our franchise hotels. Certainly, we're not going to stop pushing for lower cost distribution, for even more market share gain, but we're really excited about what our franchisees have been able to achieve and the fact that they've recovered faster than the market that's out there. So coming back to the question again, we feel we've got lists of our sourcing suppliers that are available to all of our hotels. And if somebody's got a question about a product, you can give anybody, we'll go right back to what Mike said, you can give anybody on here a call. We'll talk through it. And what we find is that there's lots of great opportunities out there for our franchisees.
Great. Scott, thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, Alan, I just wanted to add one thing that'll maybe take us into another question, which is, the question comes up all the time, during this pandemic and what's going on with capital constraints. Are people still building hotels, and what is the opportunity there? And I think I'd love to ask, Krishna on our team and maybe Shippy on our team to talk a little bit about some of our efficient prototype designs that are really designed for the economy space and the mid-scale space, if we can, because I think that's where we're going to find. We're still opening hotels. We're still building hotels. We are seeing a lot of projects through during these times, and I think that gives a very positive outlook on Wyndham to the whole community. So I'll leave it with maybe Krishna.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Again, thank you guys for joining the webinar. I really want to thank you for joining our Wyndham family, as well as your trust in us and this team, and our commitment to you and our franchisees on a day-to-day basis. Like Scott has mentioned, that the team is always there in the field to support you. Going back to the construction and prototype question is what's happening in the industry. As we all know, the financing is getting a little tighter for the new construction projects. But what we can control is how we position ourselves as when the pandemic will pass, as the financing resources will be available for our developers and owners for renovating these hotels or opening new properties or starting to build new properties. And one of the first steps is to create a prototype which is most efficient. So how we control that is how much we build, means the square footage of the building, and how much we put inside it. And if we control those things and create an offer efficient prototype with the highest square footage given to the guest rooms where we all make money, and that is the philosophy of developing these new prototypes. As far as the construction goes, we also have created a team which many of you have, I'm pretty sure, met. And the purpose of this team is to start the construction with you and your team when you start beginning or you start a new construction project or a renovation project, and meet with you in the pre-construction stage. So we itemized all the things, what resources we can bring, what vendors we can bring to the table. And again, the developers and the owners can evaluate if that is the best thing for them to use or not. But at the end of the day, all the things are outlined. So we are building only once and not doing anything twice. Anything twice is going to cost you more. So at the time of opening, it is not an inspection, it is a celebration. And that is the philosophy we have always implemented at La Quinta, as well as all new construction Wyndham brands, as well as on the renovation of the hotels. But I think we need to be prepared to have these most efficient teams, prototype, knowledgeable resources to position ourselves as the pandemic passes and we get in the new construction mode. Thanks, Mike.
Krishna, thank you. And it's exciting just to hear the term new construction right now. So thank you for sharing that. Since you bring that up, real quick, I'm interested from the entire panel, whoever wants to jump in. Where are we seeing some bright spots in the country right now? Where are we seeing some recovery, some uptick, and really kind of what segments are you all seeing it in?
If I may, Alan, I think we're seeing uptick in our 11 or 12 hotels. Mostly off the major roads and the local markets and lower economy segment is performing much better then the convention center hotels are located at the airport hotel or corporate parks. You know, many of the Wyndham brands are not located at convention or the inner city. So we're getting a lot more business down in a local level and local economy segment. So I'm appreciative that we do have some of those hotels in our portfolio.
Yeah,
And if you don't mind, I can elaborate on some of this as well.
Yeah. Let's give Shippy a chance to pipe in on this topic, because I know he's been waiting patiently.
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit here. First and foremost, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Jai Shri Krishna to all of our AHOA friends, our AHOA partners, our AHOA family. I've had the privilege of speaking with many of you so many times already, and I'm delighted to be a part of this discussion today. What I want to say is that the state of the industry is improving every day. As of today, over 99% of our hotels in the U.S. are open. There are literally less than 40 of our over 6,000 Wyndham branded hotels still closed in the U.S. due to the pandemic. And broadly speaking, as many of you heard on our second quarter earnings call earlier this month, overall occupancy continues to show sequential improvement in our economy and mid-scale brands. And our occupancy in July actually averaged almost 50% in the U.S. and recently reached a high of nearly 60%. And that reflects the strength in our drive-to leisure destinations that make up 70% of our bookings, and the remainder coming from guests for whom travel is essential to their job, like health professionals, construction crews, and truckers. So business is improving every single day, and we hope that this momentum carries on as we approach the end of the year.
Excellent, thank you. Believe it or not, we have time for a few more. This hour has flown by. So what I'd like to ask, kind of keeping it on that positive spin, which I love, what are some of the expectations for recovery? You know, what will it look like in the months to come? And, you know, are there any lessons that we could learn around the world in some areas that might be a little ahead of us as far as recovery that, you know, we should all be sort of paying attention to and maybe applying to our businesses? Is anybody seeing anything out there that we could all learn from?
I'll start with that one. So I think the most critical thing that we've already done, we've seen it, and we know that customers are telling us is they have to feel a sense of trust that they're going to have a clean and safe experience when they come into our hotels. And I think we've done a remarkable job of making sure that all of our hotels have access to the products that signify that trust. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that as people are starting to creep out into taking small vacations, they're driving to their destinations. We know it is critical that we are always there for them when they are ready to travel. And so we spent a lot of time just making sure that you understand that you know, when your guests are coming, they're going to expect that you have advice for them on where they can get a meal. If we're not able to provide F&B, where's the best place locally that they can go and get a meal and satisfy their needs? That's really critical. And that's one of the things that, again, with the products, the cleaning regimens, and the relationship with our guests, that will provide that level of trust that they need to continue choosing us for their travel.
I'm going to add one other thing in there that I think the biggest thing that we saw through the last 6 months, and it just underscored the importance of working together. Wyndham, working alongside our franchisees, we're able to take on any challenge. This one being the biggest one we've seen in, you know, probably 100 years. And what we saw is that by working together with the owners and operators that are out there, we're able to recover faster. We're able to address that, to build the trust that Mike is talking about, to roll out a cleaning program that Tracy talked about, to effectively use our channels like Lisa talked about, even roll out new products in the middle of this challenging time frame. And what we find is the more engaged our owners are, the more we work together, the better their hotel does, the better our businesses do together. We're in this together, and the reason we're here today and brought all these folks and some of our customers is to show the value of working as a team towards whatever's ahead.
Great, Scott. So before we wrap up, I want to give Sandeep, are there any thoughts or questions you'd like to pose to the panel before we wrap up, or any final comments?
No, I think we have covered wide ranges of questions, but as you are probably getting, I'm getting texting from members about the questions. So one of the questions that I just got from one of our members is, why is Wyndham charging so much for COVID-19 products? And then also one more adding, we also had a question about certain particular product for cleaning. The Wyndham, within each brands, the pricing are different per gallon on those cleanliness product. For example, I think one of the mandated that Wyndham is having is Ecolab or similar brand. And when you look at the washing fluids or something like that, so the Super 8 has one price, Days In has a different price. And as a Wyndham portfolio of brands, we think that everybody should get the same brand, because a 50-room Days In or a Super 8 might not go through as much chemicals as maybe 150-room Days In, so there's a little bit of disparity on that. So just those two questions, if somebody can clear up from Wyndham side, please.
Yeah, Sandeep, I'll jump in on that again. I think those are great examples of individual situations that we'd love to address with whoever's got them. Hard to tell right now, right? When we just talked about Ecolab, it's a massive organization, and somebody's mentioning one price versus another. What we know is we've, as we talked about, negotiating the pricing. It comes along with some flexibility that can change the pricing of the various products that are put into whatever group of products that our franchisees offer. We do know that as a large organization, we've been able to provide lots of value in those areas. So what I'd ask is if you can either text right back to those franchisees and say, hey, call Scott LePage, call Mike Muller, call Tracy Ripa. We'll get on the phone with them. We'll research it. We'll resolve it. We feel great about our programs. We want to make sure all of our franchisees do too, and we're happy to answer those questions.
No,
And
Scott,
Sandeep, also, if you can, anybody who is asking questions during the event right now, if you can direct them to ask them to info@ahoa.com, we can then go through their questions and make sure they get brought to the right people, just so we make sure their questions fully get answered.
I will definitely do that. I know there's going to be many questions that will follow this virtual event that we can't answer today. So, anybody who's listening, please submit this to what Brittany has just mentioned, so that way we can get the answers for you after the event is over. But again, I think the Wyndham family has done a great job for our members, and I do appreciate your participation here. I think it's a great way to communicate, our time during this trying times.
Thank you
for having us.
And absolutely, we didn't get to a fraction of the questions that were submitted, which is great. It just goes to show how engaged the AHOA members are with the Wyndham team. So, I'm sure that the folks over at AHOA will get these questions over to you, Scott, and everybody else, so you could reach out. Before we wrap up, Mike, any last messages from your team to the AHOA family?
Yeah, I think again, Scott said it brilliantly. This has been a great partnership. It's not always easy. It's not supposed to be. If it was easy, then we wouldn't make progress together. So let's continue to work together on that. I would say finally, there's an incredible level of interest in the Wyndham portfolio brands these days, from independent hotels and other branded hotels coming off contracts. It is one of the most recognizable and trusted collections of hotels, and we are perfectly suited during this time and well beyond to attract those people, especially driving to their destinations. And as our TV ads often point out, you're only 10 minutes from a Wyndham. So with that, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and thanks for having us.
Great, Mike, thank you. And thank you to all of you for your time today. It was great seeing you. It was an absolute honor to moderate this panel. With all the great minds here, I didn't really have to do much. So I appreciate you making my job easy. To my friends over at AHOA, thank you. It's always an honor to moderate one of these. Thank you to Chase again for sponsoring and for your support. And hope to see you again all soon, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Also,
Bye-bye. See you.
just to note, just to make sure that everybody is also aware, anybody who was not able to join today, we will have the link available for you to watch the recording as well later tonight. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.